Hello and welcome to Three Things with JR. It's episode number 168, season 6, episode 6. A lot of sixes going on here. It is way too late at night for me to be doing this. It is a school night. I am supposed to be going to work early in the morning, but here it is, 12:21 a.m. on Monday, March 31st, and I'm sitting down at my desk having written out a whole bunch of things to tell you. And I am going to tell you them, and maybe tomorrow night I'll edit this and it'll be out on Tuesday, and that's when you're hearing it. And I want to just thank you for listening. Three Things started off as a Facebook post I made one night when I was still married but not too happy about it. And I just had things to say, and I knew I should be going to bed, but I didn't want to go to bed. So instead of going to bed, I posted on Facebook just 3 kind of random thoughts I had. That's how this show started. I started doing that like 14 years ago or some crazy shit like that. I don't even remember exactly how long ago. But it was near the end of my marriage, which was like 10 years ago. So somewhere in that neighborhood. And then I abandoned it. And then when I started to create a podcast, I thought that's a good idea. I got a lot of positive feedback from that. And that's how this show was born. And so I have 3 things for you tonight. Before I get into the 3 things, though, I just want to let you know, I mean, I kind of love it when I have 3 things to share with you. Some weeks I struggle to come up with things, and it's an obligation, right? Like a self-imposed obligation on myself to do my own podcast, but an obligation I feel nonetheless. And, well, it's just nice when 3 things come to mind and I can write them down and tell them to you. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. And before I get into those things, for those of you that might be in the Central Virginia, if you're looking for a good show to see on a Friday night or a Saturday night or a Sunday matinee, go see Hattie Big Sky at Shannon Arts in Stanton. It opened this last weekend, the last weekend of March, and it is only running one more weekend, so you have 3 more shows to go see, and I highly recommend it. No, I'm not in this show. This is not self-promotion in any way, shape, or form. It's simply a really good show I saw that I want you to go see too. And it's actually making its world premiere at Shannon Arts. It is an original work. It has been years in the making, and Shannon Arts is the first ever theater to produce the show. It takes place in the early 1900s, but I got to tell you, you come away from it feeling how poignant it was and on point for the crazy shit happening in the world today, especially here in America. It is a straight play. It's not a musical. The acting is excellent. You will laugh a little. You'll cry a little, but mostly you'll be inspired. And remember that things have been bad before and we got through them. We will be okay. All right, on to the things.
Thing number one.
You can do anything, but you can't do everything. Damn it. I heard this saying the other day, and God, ever since I heard it, I've been kind of wishing it wasn't so freaking true. I've been thinking mostly about how it applies to me. I have so many varied interests. I'm into sports, theater, electronics, consuming and creating content, music. I think it's fair to say that I'm not like a master of any of these things that I love to do. I'm at best a jack at some of them. One exception to this is my work. I will say I'm a master of what I do at work, which stands to reason as I've spent more hours of my life mastering my job than I have doing any other single activity, so I better be damn good at it. But when I'm not at work, I'm kind of all over the place. In any given week in my non-work hours, I'm rehearsing for a show or rehearsing with my band or doing a show or playing music with my band or rehearsing with my choir or making a podcast or making a YouTube video or playing disc golf or watching any one of several shows I'm into at that time or listening to music or a podcast or a book. I'm into a lot of different stuff. And yes, I do wish I was better at a lot of these pursuits. I could be a better singer. I could be a better disc golfer, a better drummer, a better podcaster, YouTuber. I could spend more time practicing and honing and refining my skills in the craft. But if I wanted to master any of them, I'd have to give up some or maybe all of the others. And I'm just not willing to do that. In fact, I abhor the idea of doing the same thing all the time. I would become so bored very quickly and demotivated. I would end up just watching more TV, which I'm actually a master of. I'm really damn good at that. Here's how I'm good at that. I avoid all the trash that's on TV to watch and only watch the good stuff, the stuff that moves me. And I hardly ever get distracted by other things. I don't scroll on my phone when I'm watching TV. It's not uncommon for me to miss text messages and phone calls while I'm watching a show that's really, really good because I get into it. Even at work, I don't do the same thing every day. On any given day at work, I could be teaching new employees, writing a script for a video, appearing on camera in that video, fixing problems, refining my skills, producing my work podcast, or any bunch of other job duties. If all I did was one of those things at work, if it was just one of those things was my whole job, I would have gotten very complacent and very bored many years ago. I guess what I'm saying is that as I've pondered this saying that, you can do anything, but you can't do everything, I've decided it's simply not true for me. Now, this saying comes from an author named David Allen. He's a productivity specialist. He's known for having created a time management method called Getting Things Done. There's a Wikipedia page that describes it. You don't have to buy the book. I didn't buy the book. It's a system for examining the things you have to do, how you feel about them, and it uses a logic tree for determining how to get things done, what things you should spend time doing and what things you should let go by the wayside. Yeah, that doesn't work for me. That just sounds like another thing to do, and one in which I'm not particularly interested in adding to my very full day, week, month, season, year, life. I would agree with Mr. Allen that you can master anything, but you cannot master everything. That's kind of different, though. And I personally care more about doing a bunch of different things than I do about mastering any of them. Although, I must say, money does talk. And if I were to start getting paid for any of my pleasurable pursuits, my hobbies, the things I love to do outside of work, I would unapologetically abandon other pursuits in order to make the most of whatever opportunity presented itself. If my YouTube channel became a moneymaker, I would do more of that and less other stuff. If I was getting paid enough money to support myself playing drums in a band, that would be amazing. And there wouldn't be time to do much else, and I would be okay with that. But really, I'm okay if none of my hobbies ever make me a dime. I make money doing what I have mastered. I've been at my job for about 29 years, and I love it, so I'll do that, along with all the other things that bring me and others joy. Thing number two. Hummus. Especially Wegmans hummus. Now, thing number two is typically something pop culture related, like a show I'm recommending, a band I'm recommending, a book I love that I think you'll love. It's, that's typically what thing number two is. But right now, you know what I want to recommend? Hummus. Specifically, the hummus is available at Wegmans. They've got they've got a whole bunch of flavors, but they've got 3 flavors that I am somewhat addicted to. Specifically, the roasted garlic, black garlic, even better, and especially my absolute favorite, caramelized onion. I buy it by the tub. I keep a tub of it at work and a tub of it at home and a backup tub in case I run out. What do I dip in them? Popcorn chips, like baked popcorn chips, because they're low fat, low sodium, and low sugar, and they're just way better for me than fried tortilla chips, which would be my first choice, or crackers like Club crackers or Ritz crackers. That would be my second choice. Wheat Thins, I do have a weakness for Wheat Thins, but still, I've been losing a lot of weight here lately as I've been trying to be more healthy, and I need something I can eat a lot of that won't kill me. And I just love creamy, savory dips. Anything based with mayonnaise, I'm in. Ask me about my white sauce, and I could go on for hours. And I could also eat it for hours. If I was on a deserted island with only one kind of food for the rest of my life, it would be some form of chips and dip. This is most likely why my cholesterol is elevated and I'm having heart trouble. I know this. So I needed an alternative. So low sodium, low fat, low sugar, popcorn chips, and hummus are filling that void as I've quit eating most of the unhealthy things that I love. As a result, I have lost 16 pounds in 3.5 weeks, and I've not been miserable about it, mainly thanks to the popcorn chips and the hummus. So if you live near Wegmans, give it a shot. By the way, this show is not sponsored by Wegmans or hummus or popcorn chips or anything other than my love and devotion to doing this show. Thing number three. Eccentric. You know when you look at a familiar word, a word that you've known all your life, and all of a sudden you doubt how you know it is pronounced. I've had this happen to me several times over the years. I wish I could remember the specific examples, but it's just, a word that is familiar that all of a sudden seems foreign to you. Like, that couldn't be how you say that word, but it is, and you're doubting it anyway. I had the chance to witness this the other day. I was having a conversation with two other people, and the word eccentric came up. Except they were both saying eccentric. And even though I could see the doubt on their faces and hear it in their voices, they were insistent that it was not pronounced eccentric. Now, I love the word eccentric. I like to think of myself as eccentric, however, I know I'm not really that eccentric. My varied interests might be surprising to some, like you might not guess that I'm a theater person on a first impression, right? You might not guess that I have run a marathon unless I tell you. You might be surprised how much I know, but none of this is odd or strange or weird, which is kind of the deal when you are eccentric. Still, I've always paid attention to this word and the people I know that are eccentric. And I would have noticed it if either of the two people with whom I was having a conversation said eccentric before. But I've never heard them say it that way. In fact, I've personally never heard anybody say it that way. It never dawned on me that there's another way to say eccentric other than eccentric. So we hashed it out right then and there. One of them went to Google, one of them went to Alexa, and in the end, we all agreed that it was eccentric, and we had a good laugh about it. And then I went on YouTube and found some videos. So here's what YouTube has to say about the word eccentric.
We are looking at how to pronounce this word in English, describing a person or a behavior that is unconventional and slightly strange. How do you go about pronouncing it? Eccentric. You do want to stress on the second syllable, the sen syllable. Eccentric. Eccentric.
Well, there's one that explains how to pronounce it. Here's another one.
Eccentric. Eccentric.
And here's another one.
You are looking at Julian's pronunciation guide, where we look at how to pronounce better some of the most mispronounced words in the world, like this other curious word. But how do you say what you're looking for today? Eccentric. Eccentric. Both British and American pronunciations are similar here. Eccentric. Stress on the second syllable. Eccentric. And now you know.
That's a video from a guy named Julian Miguel, and he's got multiple videos explaining how to pronounce eccentric. There's a bunch of them, and I feel like there's a whole world of YouTube videos I have just discovered where they explain how to pronounce words. So they're there. But here's the last one that directly addresses the thing that happened in our conversation the other night.
Do you mispronounce the word that is spelled Eccentric? Well, it should be eccentric. Someone who is eccentric behaves in a strange way and has habits that are different from most people, especially used with artistic people or geniuses, inventors. People like that tend to be more eccentric. Some mispronounce it as eccentric, and most dictionaries agree that it should be eccentric. And we do have one example here. Einstein was often considered eccentric because he never wore socks. I actually heard two stories. One where he said, well, you have shoes and socks. Why do you need both? And I also heard that he didn't wear socks because his big toe always made a hole in the socks, and he didn't like that. If you like videos like this, check me out at Tutor Nick P on YouTube.
So there you go. It is eccentric. I wish I was more eccentric. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to Three Things with JR. Next week, it'll be another episode of Small Things Considered, in which Gary and I consider small things. We're also starting up a new podcast coming soon. More details on that to come, probably on next week's Small Things Considered. Thanks again for listening. I'm JR. We'll see you in a few weeks. Peace out, everybody.
eccentric.